Hey guys, welcome back to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. Today we're going to be talking all about the Vortex, and I'm going to be showing off the Ice Blast team that I'm currently using at the start of Season 2. So I will say it is using some legendary heroes, including the new Ice Blast exclusive Beldel, but I do not have her exclusive artifact, so I will be using epic artifacts on her. The only legendary artifact I'm using in this run is Witch's Remains for the defense penalty. So I just want to kind of bring attention to how strong the Ice Blast is with very little kind of investment. There are plenty of better teams to be using, and in fact there are lots of replacements you could be using in this team as well, especially for Beldel. You could use one of the new epic Ice Blasts, which I'll show you as well. So I've done some testing on her, and as much as the damage is slightly higher with Beldel, this epic is very capable of competing with her on numbers in terms of maybe 10% less damage than she puts out. So a very good option for people. As you can see, this is ranking me in the 62nd place on my server currently for Vortex. Obviously, as that goes on, I'm sure my team will evolve, so will everybody else's, but whether I stay in this kind of top 75 kind of area is yet to be seen. So the team I'm using is, so I've got Garius as my tank. So Garius is wearing the Scarab Beetle artifact just to give him some more defense. He's built in just damage gear because I've only pushed Grave of Venom at the moment, and I've not got to stage 7 to get any legendary gear. So he's just built with some survivability, so HP percent gloves, defense percent chest, and the only positive rune I've got is an attack one. It's got a little bit of defense, so I guess it helps a little bit. But in terms of his stats, they're really nothing crazy at the moment. My damage dealer is Beldel, as I mentioned, so she's built with attack, a good amount of crit rate, and some crit damage, and she's using the Manticore statue artifact. So Ice Blasts all revolve around their battle skill, so this is effectively an 18% damage bonus to her biggest hitting skill. Next up, we've got Vinyara. So Vinyara is in my team as my attack penalty because I'm using a tank who doesn't bring attack penalty, so this is just to help me survive a bit longer. So my Varesh is using the Crown of the Unclean artifact just to try and get a little bit more uptime on defense penalty. She's just built in pretty standard gear with enough accuracy for the level I'm facing currently. I could do with a little bit more in an ideal world, but we'll have to kind of wait till I get some better gear before I'm able to do that. So as you can see, she's got just under 140 accuracy. Next up, I've got Bledin. So Bledin is kind of the enabler to my Beldel's damage. So he's got a passive where every time he crits, there's a 20% chance of granting 1 stack of Ice Crystal to an Ice Blast ally. As well as that, on his ultimate skill, he also gives a Ice Crystal to the ally with the highest attack. So this is just feeding more Ice Crystals to my Beldel to allow her to use her battle skill more frequently. But he is capable of doing some decent damage. I've got him built with accuracy and crit rate just to allow him to place the defense penalty from the Witch's Remains with his multiple hit ultimate skill. And obviously, he's got a decent amount of crit rate to trigger his passive as frequently as possible. My healer in this run is Jillian, so I've got her built with a good amount of enlightenment for the gear I've got available. And aside from that, just some defensive stats, and she's using the Mirror of the Living artifact. In terms of skill timings, I've got this set up so that I've got my Vinyara placing defense penalty attack penalty, just before the second last hit of the boss, so where it would place defense penalty on rank 4, and it then covers the ultimate skill of the boss as well. My Bledin is using his damage skill, his ultimate skill, every time it's available, starting from 12 seconds, and then every 20 seconds thereafter. Beldel is using her ultimate skill just after him to allow for the defense penalty to land. My Jillian is using her heal and defense increase just before the ultimate skill of the boss. And lastly, my Garius is using his ultimate heal just between the first 2 hits. So on the first skill of the boss, it does hit twice. So Garius is using his heal between those 2 hits. So after the first and before the second, just to top my team up, as later in the fight it does start to do a serious amount of damage. So if we jump into the run and we'll have a look at how it plays out. As I say, there is lots of room for improvement, and it does finish the maximum chest on level 2 of the Vortex, allowing me to move on to level 3 once we hit Journeyman level 25 to unlock level 3. So I'll jump out, I'll let you watch the run, and I'll jump back in at the end and we'll talk about how it went. see 11.4 million. So the max requirement for this boss is 8 million. So this allows you to move on to level 3 of the Vortex boss when that unlocks. So as much as this team isn't the best by any stretch, it does get you significantly over that requirement. And as I said at the start, there are lots of alternatives who you could look to bring into this team. So if we jump to the gallery and we'll have a little look at options that you could bring in to replace some of these heroes. So in terms of a damage dealer, as I mentioned, obviously I'm using my Beldel as my damage dealer. Of course, you could use any of the Ice Blast legendaries into this team as well. It would just help to enable the damage even further. I unfortunately didn't pull either Zorak or most notably Sheena, so she would enable multiple damage dealers to run alongside them. At the moment, with me using my Bledin, he only enables one of my Ice Blast damage dealers, so I can't use more than 2 damage dealers in my team currently. If I was able to, then I would be using Gerthin, who is nearly as good as a Beldel who doesn't have the exclusive artifact. She does so much damage, especially for an epic. She's almost like the epic Tonalnan of Ice Blast. So she has a very similar kit to Beldin. So she has a single target ultimate, gaining 1 stack of Ice Crystal. Her passive, once again, repeats her battle skill if she's got any ice crystals, and her battle skill hits an enemy twice, each dealing cold damage. Then she gains crit rate bonus for 5 seconds and 1 stack of ice crystal if the attack kills an enemy. So the second part of that skill isn't really necessary to worry about, but she will be hitting the targets so frequently with this skill and it does so much damage. As I said, I tested her in so many different situations against Beldel and with Beldel, and overall she seems to do around 10% less damage than my Beldel in exactly the same build. So she's definitely a very top tier epic and one you could replace the exclusive legendary with in my team. I know I'm using Jillian as my healer. You could use multiple different options. You could use something from Out of the Element bonus, or you could use even Catherine. So at the moment, you just worry about the healing. You're not worrying about the debuffs. So the cleanse from Jillian isn't necessary. You could use Catherine just to heal your whole team after that or before that final hit from the boss. There are so many different healers who you could use in this situation. Obviously, Garius does a good amount of healing, but you could look to using a tank such as Clovis, who does attack penalty, allowing you to then take the Vinyara out and bringing in an additional either support or a different damage dealer to push your damage even further. As you can see in my run, I did survive till 300 stacks on the boss, so maybe it's a little bit overkill in terms of support. It might be worth me playing around to see if I can take out some of that support and put in some more damage to kind of boost my numbers up into a higher amount in a lower amount of time. But there is lots of alternatives who you could bring into this. It's just making sure you've got the kind of core fundamentals of the team, having somebody to tank the Call of Lightning, so that's your highest HP target, a good amount of healing, an attack penalty, and also bringing in at least 2 forms of damage. So Ice Blast is what I've chosen to run, and as I say, the epic Bledin is a really good enabler if you paired him alongside any of the Ice Blast legendaries or Gerthin the epic. You will do very similar amounts of damage to this, if not more. I've unfortunately not invested much time into gear farming, which is what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. So hopefully I'll be able to push this to the next level. But that is all for this video today, guys. So if you are enjoying the content I'm putting out, please do remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.